This episode is about why and how to multi-stream. I've been saying it a lot lately, especially since I've been doing one singular stream on Substack and or Twitch. But I really have been trying to actively figure out how do I multi-stream on either of my channels, because the gaming channel or this content creator channel, let alone for you, how to tell you how to multi-stream. Because I've been telling people to do it, and there's a lot of reasons why you should do it, which we'll get into, but really it's a matter of how. There's a lot of tools in the market, not enough in my opinion. I think there needs to be something else, and I'll tell you why I think that. But however, I think that for the most part, there is a variety of tools you can choose from. I almost actually forgot one. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up too. And I have them all listed out here. I'm going to go through each of the pages and just kind of give you a first impressions or something I've experienced in these tools basically over the years. So first and foremost, let me switch to the screen share view. We're going into, right off the bat, XSplit. It's been around for a long time. I remember actually using VCam when I first started creating content. I want to note they used to have something else besides Broadcaster. It was called Gamecaster, and it was really cool. It was one of the best live streaming tools. It's actually what got me to actually try live streaming originally, and then they got rid of it. I was actually a beta tester for it even. And really, their broadcaster is probably pretty powerful, but at this point, you might as well just use OBS. And we'll get into that later on. But I just want to mention it because it has been around for a while, and I bet if you wanted to use VCam, which is one of the more powerful like background removal tools and replacement tools, that's probably a wise decision. Plus, maybe if OBS is messing up on you or you want something a little bit more out of the box, Broadcaster might be the trick for you. I think that's all they have now at this point, but it's worth mentioning. Next is StreamYard. Now, I do not recommend StreamYard because of the pricing and all that. Not to mention, too, they still don't really do vertical for the most part, and while StreamYard has a lot of built-in features that are really cool, what like being able to do, if someone comments on the multi-chat, you can bring it up here, like this is what it looks like here. That's cool. And it is one of the better ways to stream podcasts. And I'll get into another episode here soon about podcasting for multi-streaming for podcasters. But really, there's other tools you can do, and we'll get into those as well. But StreamYard is one of the more famous ones. The problem is the pricing model, the company history in the recent years too. It's just not really worth it. I'm not sure if the script has it, but we do have Riverside. Now, Riverside, I've not tested their multi-streaming features, and it says it can multi-stream to the vertical platforms, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm actually kind of curious to see. I haven't looked at this page in a while, but it seems like it's only a horizontal output for the most part. Like, you can export it into vertical. In fact, I do that quite often with my podcasts, especially to throw it into Opus, but it doesn't really look like they can do a simulcast to vertical platforms. You're either doing a vertical canvas or a horizontal canvas, and more than likely horizontal. So yes, while you can hook up these RMTPs for these plugins, I doubt they have a connection to TikTok, because TikTok is one of those limiting factors that a lot of platforms cannot get access to. And there's a couple tools on this list today that I'll show you. Now, mind you, all these links will be in the description below, but I would just presume that if you're streaming horizontally here, you're only going to be able to get a couple different platforms. I think there's a limitation on the pricing when it comes to live streaming. I can't find it. So I can't recommend this unless you're doing specifically just a podcast and you're already using it for recording anyways, and I could definitely see you adding on a live stream component, but there's other tools that people use for recording, like the script rooms or even like Zencaster and stuff like that. And maybe I should check those out and see if they offer live streaming options. But given how latent a lot of the actual meeting calls are, like this meeting looks very crisp. But when I'm in Riverside, the actual recordings are great when they work. 99% of the time, 90% of the time, actually more likely in my experience, the recordings look great. But in the actual call themselves, it's very blurry. And I would presume that if it's taking the cloud recording already from your recording that you're doing and sending that out as a live stream, it's not going to look that great. And that's why I'm hesitant to recommend this. This is one that I was just told about literally within the last day. Didn't know it existed. And Polystreamer, I guess, is kind of like an alternative to Restream, which we'll get to a little bit later. And honestly, given my anti-Restream kind of philosophy now at this point, this might be a good... Yeah, see, it even says their pro package, and they're referencing Restream here. But I just wanted to mention, like, that's kind of a cool idea. Like, this is a way to get an alternative around it. And I actually just remembered there is an alternative. When it comes to live streaming, you have this brilliant opportunity right now in order to reach a much greater audience if you just syndicate your content. I've mentioned this a lot when it comes to syndicating your content post recording already, but actually going about doing it while you're live streaming, I think is really interesting. Speaking of which, there's one more tool that I wanted to mention, and this is Restreamer, and it is a alternative to using something like, I guess you could say, Restream.io or Polystreamer, but you are hosting it yourself. And that could be useful. If you have a server already, or if you have a backup computer that you don't mind using, I mean, at that point, you might as well just do the whole dual PC streaming setup. But this might be a great way of doing that streaming setup as well. If you want to just have it all on one computer with OBS, like all your tech and your recording devices are on your main computer anyways, but then you want to send that stream over to your secondary computer and then have it split it off for you. I can see this being a usage for that. I don't know if it can handle vertical, but it's just worth mentioning. Another more obscure one that people don't know about, but I came across it when it came to the mobile app because I was trying to test out a microphone and camera on my tablet. It is a pretty simple live streaming setup. I believe it's free. There is a paid version, but this is something that people might be able to check out on a tablet, iPad, something like that might be kind of useful, considering that I think Streamlabs is one of the only other ones on tablet. Next is Ecamm Live, another very well received and well regarded one. I'm not 100% sure if they handle vertical. It doesn't seem like they do. I'm going to get someone commenting down below that like, oh yeah, they do actually, but it does have a wide audience that I talk to creators all the time. They're like, yeah, on Mac, I use Ecamm. And so it's just one of those things where I think it's pretty expensive from what I recall. Yeah, I mean, depending on how many destinations and how much you're recording, I think, or something like that. Or like, yeah, the 4K versus 1080p. So 16 is actually not that bad per month, annually at least. 32 is probably where it kind of gets a little bit more pricey, but considering I think you're doing a lot more with it, I think I've been on a lot of podcasts that actually use Ecamm for their podcasting stuff. Next is the kind of OG at this point, Restream.io. It is probably one of the more powerful ones when it comes to just horizontal. Like if you want to go in there and just multi-stream horizontally, that's great. And they probably have a lot more features like StreamYard where you can bring up comments. I think they were one of the better ones when it came to multi-chat as well. However, they are missing vertical, and they're also very expensive too. 3 channels is not great for $16. And then even for the $40 a month plan, you're only getting 5 channels. Like, I just think that's ridiculous. And the CEO is also going on like tirades on social media and YouTube comments, and it just makes me have an ick. So moving on. Lightstream is something I'm not familiar with per se, but I think it's a matter of doing this for console. It's kind of like if you want to stream from your console and split it and have more control like OBS with overlays and stuff like that, or have multiplayer streams. Like, I just think there's a lot of really cool features you can have with this. And maybe I should actually start using it too. I don't know. Because if there's, I can simulcast to 5 different destinations, which might be a great way for me to go ahead and, 720p, no. But $12 a month is not bad. However, we should get into Lightstream's alternative here in a minute with Streamlabs. And so there is a few different options there, but also a matter of vertical. And so we need to get into that. And so the next one is OneStream. Not a huge tool, I don't think, for the most part. And they technically multi-stream to a lot of different platforms. Let's see what the pricing model's like. It's not too bad. There's a lot of different options here when it comes to just the generic horizontal multi-streaming tools. Technically speaking, this might be able to handle vertical, but I don't have experience with it to tell you. I'm just telling you it exists. If you are only really caring about TikTok, the TikTok Live Studio is a great way of doing it. I have seen a lot of people use OBS and TikTok Live Studio together, like side by side. So one stream's going vertical, one stream's going horizontal, boom, you're set. That is one way of doing it, but you still have to use 2 different tools at that point. OBS is the overall best for everybody kind of tool. It is a little bit more complicated. Like, you can even see just the stuff down here seems kind of intimidating at first. It's really not that bad. You just have different scenes, and then you have different sources within those scenes. So when I switch between the screen share and my face cam, there's 2 different sources within each of those scenes that I'm sharing to you. But I am using Meld Studio. And Meld Studio is like OBS, but a lot simpler and a lot more easy to pick up, and there's a lot of animations built into it, a lot of different presets and features you can add into it, and even just doing that face cam with the curved roundness there, that kind of thing, takes 1 or 2 different plugins on OBS, whereas it's just built into Meld. I'm also live streaming from Meld right now, and I'm able to do that while recording vertically. Like, actually, why don't I just share my screen? I think that'll work. It's a little bit like meta here, but right now I'm recording vertically, but I'm also streaming horizontally. And so that way I can actually drop this into Opus Clip and then later on have this on Substack, which is kind of nice. I don't know what to make of this. They released this. I think it's kind of an alternative to Lightstream in a way, where it will help syndicate your stuff from like a console, but it doesn't have a cloud service for you, which, depending on who you like, this might be actually pretty useful for me right now in order to syndicate not just to Twitch, but to doing all three. Like, I would want to be on all three of these platforms for my gaming content, so this probably actually is a good idea for me to do right now from my Xbox. I think I can do that with RNTP, but if you're trying to do vertical platforms on top of that too, you would probably need to have the actual Melt Studio app. Next are the two plugins for OBS, Atom and Stream Elements, both of which have kind of a cult following. Stream Elements has better plugins, I think, for like chat, but I think it has a lot more stability issues, whereas the Atom has been around a little bit longer, and the vertical plugin also as well. And that's actually what I had used when I was using the vertical plugin on OBS. I'll get into more of those in the blog post itself. I'll be talking about a lot of these ending ones here, because I'm getting closer and closer to the end here. Next is finally the Streamlabs. And if I don't end up using the multi-meld or Lightstream or something like that, Streamlabs is probably what I'm going to be using. The reason being is that Streamlabs is the only one that can syndicate vertically and horizontally to multiple different platforms, quite like how Restream does, but it also includes the vertical platforms, and the pricing is a lot cheaper. I think the pricing is like $27 a month compared to the $49 on the other one. And when you get Ultra, you get access to like all these different tools, including the Talk Studio for podcasts, and then even the console stream. Yeah, I can stream from the console. And so that, and multi-stream too. So all these different features, and actually one thing I really like is Crossclip. Crossclip is a repurposing tool to take your gaming clips into TikTok format. And then I also have this blog post I'm going to put at the end here just in case I miss anything. Because there's a couple other apps like vMix that are kind of old that I'm probably not going to talk about, but I wanted to at least share with you. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down below, because I am trying to talk about this more often. So I am trying to figure out more and more how I want to go about creating my live streaming empire, if you will. And this is why I'm so dedicated to finding the right tool, and why I wanted to share with you what the right tool is. So please let me know what you think. Read the post down below or on Substack if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening in, yeah, okay, cheers.